Hey, 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 welcome to the Happy Productive Podcast. I'm Jennifer Dawn, a business coach and founder of The Best Planner Ever. If you're ready to start winning big in business and life, guess what? You're in the right place. The Happy Productive Podcast is your go-to resource for learning how to bring awareness and determination, a little mental toughness, some discipline, a bunch of clarity, all that stuff into your daily productivity so that you can knock your goals out of the park, really set yourself apart from the pack and start succeeding on a whole new level. So I am super excited today because we are going to be talking with the beautiful Jessica Sinclair. She is a life coach and speaker and also has her own planner and also has so many amazing things. And I'm going to do something a little different today. I'm not going to read her bio because I want her to share in her own words a little bit about her own story because I think it's so very powerful. So Jess, do you mind just sharing a little bit about you and your journey?
Oh, absolutely. First of all, thank you so much for having me. Thank
Oh,
you
you're
so
so
much.
welcome.
And sharing your audience with me, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm
So
so happy
I
to.
I am just so excited to be here, so I'm gonna try. My story to me starts in Mississippi, where I was born,
Mhm.
and travels through all southern states from Mississippi to Florida, and now I am in Georgia. And while I was a young girl, I grew up in poverty in Mississippi, and a lot of different struggles. I was abused as a child from the age of 5 to 13, and after my parents' divorce, there was a lot of trauma left there and then a lot of freedom because there's fracturing of that family structure. And so I found myself, although I was very intelligent and I was driven, partly because I had a teacher at some point who told me about college in the
Mhm.
fifth grade, and that was the first time I ever heard about that college thing, even though I grew up in a college town right
Mhm.
around the corner, and I could hear the bands from these two universities right from in my living room, and never knew anything about college. So that
Mhm.
fifth grade teacher kind of planted a seed, and she brought in college students, and I'm like, college student, they look like people.
Yeah.
But then they talked about all the places they were from, and I had never been to Jacksonville, Florida, so it was a big deal to me to hear about these different wild places they had been. So
Yeah.
college then to me became a way to go from poverty to the opposite of poverty, whatever that was. And I did
Mhm.
not know what that was, but I just knew it wasn't poverty. So I went to school and I worked really hard. And in high school, I was the junior class vice president. I was on the honor roll. I was dual enrolled in college. And I was, what they call a child with great potential.
Oh, yes.
And then I found myself pregnant at the age
Mhm.
of 16.
Wow.
And I was told that the statistics for girls who have children in high school is less than 10% of them actually graduate high school, and they have a less than 2% chance of earning a college degree before age 30.
Mm.
So the odds are that I had a better chance of making $25,000 a year for the rest of my life than to actually have a college education, and do well and change the circumstances for me and my unborn child at that point.
Yeah.
So that was very bleak. And on top of that, the school at that time didn't really know what to do with
Mhm.
me. I went to my counselor, and when he found out, I'll never forget what he said to me. Jennifer, he said, it's the ones you put on a pedestal that let you down every
Ah,
time. I was
good
16
grief.
years old from a home of poverty, traumatized and pregnant, and did not have any idea of what I was going to do, but I knew what I was not going to do, and that was give up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
And to be in that situation and then you get shamed.
right,
Really. You get
right,
shamed.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's interesting that you say get shamed, right? Because it's layered. There's
Mhm.
already, the shame of abuse and the shame of poverty. Now it's the shame of letting down this whole community of people. This isn't, he was the guidance counselor. And now I've disappointed him. And he said, so if I'm not on the pedestal, that must mean I have fallen.
Right.
So I didn't give up. I remember I stormed out of his office and I burst through that door and it hit the back of the wall and everybody's turning around and I was like, I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you. You don't know what I'm capable of. And so I left and we ended up actually having to fight for me to stay in a public
Really?
school. They
Wow.
wanted to send me to a teenage pregnancy program. And my mother, she has a high school education. She worked in housekeeping her whole life, did not
Mhm.
have any experience with fighting the administration or advocating in that way. I was the first child in my family to go through this. So it was all very new for everyone. But my
Mhm.
mother stood up for me and she said, tell me what to say. Like, what is it that you want? And I said, I want to go to college. Does that school help you go to college? And their answer was no. And she said, so my daughter isn't going.
Mm.
And so I stayed at high school. I stayed in my position as the junior class vice president. They wanted me to step down from that too. And then my senior class actually elected me to be the president of the
What?
class and voted me best all around. I
Wow.
graduated National Honor Society. I graduated at the top 10% of my class because, as you recall, they said I had a 10% chance, but I
Mhm.
graduated in the top 10%. While I was in high school, I dual enrolled in college and I worked a part-time job. It was very difficult. At first, there was a child care center on the school grounds, but you could not dual enroll in college. You couldn't leave your child and
Mhm.
go somewhere. So I had to unenroll her from the daycare center, and my mom kept her during the day so that I could go to college classes while I
Mhm.
was enrolled in high school. And then I worked in the evenings, and my brothers and sister helped with my daughter. So I was able to graduate on time. I went to college. I graduated from Florida State University at the age of 22, and I graduated from Florida State University again with a master's degree in public administration in 2005 at the age of 25. And that's also the year I purchased my first home.
Wow.
So my story is that sometimes the statistics, though they are true, are
Mhm.
not true for you. They
Mhm.
weren't true for me. And there was no one that was a role model, so to speak. And if she existed, perhaps she too had been shamed, and wanted to outrun that image. And I didn't see her.
Mhm.
I did not see a woman who had been a teen parent and gotten a college degree and gotten a good job and her child went to college. All I heard was that it's not going to be good for you. My daughter just graduated in May of last year from the City University of New York with a degree in music, and she is a
Oh.
sound engineer.
Wow. Oh my goodness. So this is why I didn't read your bio, because this is why you're on the show today. Such a powerful story. And I love how you took the stats, right? You get pregnant in high school. And I remember in our high school, there were girls who had gotten pregnant. So I went to high school in Tallahassee, Florida, because you and I both went to Florida State. And
Yes,
so, yeah, so my high school was in Monticello, Florida, which is this tiny little speck of a town nobody's ever heard of,
except me.
except for you. You know where I'm talking about. And I do remember like girls in high school getting pregnant, and it was just this like immediate like thing that they were done. Like that was it. Their life was over. And so when I heard your story, and I was just like, you not only did you beat the odds, you like turned them upside down. And even when a high school counselor like shamed you, it's just like, you know what, I'm going to show you what I really can do. And I just think that is so powerful because in life, life's hard. Like hard things happen to all of us all the time. And it comes down to, do we want to make that our truth? Or do we want to find our truth, make our own truth? And so I'm curious, like, as you were going through that, like, how did you overcome? How did you really, at such a young age, like really own your truth and own your power, where so many people fail in this area? They fall into victim mode, they drop out, they don't overcome. And so I would just love to hear from you, like, how did you overcome? How did you tap your power?
I think because I had already been through so much, and that seed that teacher planted for me,
Mhm.
she never said that, but if you get pregnant, this isn't going to be possible. So she really never put any limitations. She was more of, you can do anything. So that's the thought that I started thinking, you can do it, you can do it. And I just had to, even when I had to withdraw from classes, I went back immediately. And when they said, write the letter and let us know what you're going through, I didn't try to make it pretty.
Mhm.
This is what I'm dealing with. And, you know, a lot of doors opened because I opened my mouth and asked for help, or
Mhm.
said, I don't understand, I don't know. And a lot of people began to say, oh, well, I can show you that, or I can tell you that, or I don't know the answer, but let me put you in contact with this person. And then it became, more known that, okay, here's a young lady who's trying to do something. I'm sending her your way. And people started opening doors. They started opening, even if it was just a little crack, if I can get my toe in the
Mhm.
door, then I can bust it wide open. That's what I'm thinking. And so I put myself in uncomfortable situations,
Mhm.
and I put myself in rooms where I knew I was the only person that had a kid, in this
Uh-huh.
at this college, networking event. And I would say, and so my daughter, and then people would say, and what? And so I used it, as something that wasn't negative, but something that I could raise, that could actually raise awareness a bit.
Mhm.
And I'm not saying that I went home all the time feeling vindicated, or like I had done
Mhm.
something. Sometimes I went home feeling even more ashamed and doubting, why did I tell them that? What are they thinking now? I'm not like them, I'm not good enough. And I would have to go home and literally learn how to speak louder than those thoughts. They, in your mind is such a powerful thing. Now in coaching, I tell people, fear is a worthy adversary, but
Mhm.
fear does not always tell the truth.
Right.
So, and I didn't know, I was not aware that I was doing that, but talking back to it
Mhm.
out loud, that's what I had to do. And then literally opening my mouth and saying, I'm here. I remember one time, for instance, I was in a writing class,
Mhm.
and I asked my professor, my daughter's father isn't able to get her today. We have a 6:30 class. I need to bring my daughter to class. And she said, oh, that's going to disrupt the course. I didn't know you had a daughter, but I will get a graduate student to sit with your daughter in another class, and you won't have to worry about it. Those types of things
Mhm.
is what I mean. Just letting people know. I would barge into my new counselor, because I was done with the pedestal guy,
Yeah.
and I would say, I heard there's money. Where's the scholarships? And I spent so much time asking for applications to fill out because I heard about this free money thing. And I told everybody I knew there was like this free money. All you have to do, they will pay for your college education. And the last thing I did, I gave a speech at my high school graduation, our convocation, and there was the president of a university was the speaker, and that was the president of Florida A&M University at the
Mhm.
time, and he offered the valedictorian a full scholarship, but the guy had committed to like Yale or Harvard, so he turned it down. And so I said,
Hmm.
opportunity. So as soon as this event is over, I go up to him and I said, I heard you have money. If he turned you down, it sounds like you have a surplus. And he said, I like the way you think. Come and see me in my office on Tuesday. And I went and I waited, and he literally tripled my financial aid package and offered me on campus housing. So seizing opportunities and letting people know what you need. Don't be afraid to open your mouth. And I think for me, that means that's still true. So I have to let people know I'm here. So that's another reason why I coach, is because I want to reach girls and women who have had those types of experiences in life. Maybe they weren't a teen mother, but maybe they've experienced divorce or incarceration or any setbacks in life, and you where you've been shamed or feel like you've fallen from a pedestal, or people you feel like you've let people down, but more so you feel like you've let yourself down.
Yeah.
Then I feel like that's a perfect moment to reset. And
Mm.
that's why I branded myself the reset coach, because
Yeah.
I've learned over and over. My daughter is 24, and over the last almost 2.5 decades, ooh, I look good for my age. Over the last 2.5 decades, I have had to reset.
Yeah.
I've had to pause and consciously investigate my thoughts and my actions and the way I treat myself and others. And I had to be willing to change that. I had
Yeah.
to be willing to challenge that. And that means mining and going deep, even when it like hurts in your chest. Like, I don't want to deal with, like you taught us, I don't want to deal with my money.
Yeah.
You have to break through that. And for me, that whole reset process starts with the pause. Eh, just
Yeah.
stop. And I've had
Oh.
to do that. And that is just like the intro to my program that I've been working on. And that's why I was so excited to work with you,
Mm-hmm.
because you helped me clarify and really hone in on the value of my story
Yeah.
and how it connected with the business that I was trying to build. And I remember when I sent you a description early on before we ever had our first coaching
Mm-hmm.
moment together, and it was all over the place. And I provide services to everybody, their grandmother.
Right.
And if you bring the kitchen sink in, I will coach that sink too. And we whittled that. I don't think we ever even looked at that document. It was like, okay, yeah, we're gonna
Yeah.
start over
Yeah.
here, start
Yeah.
fresh. And you asked me a question about an introduction. I think that was 25 words or less.
Uh-huh.
And that was like, And then when we actually talked, you said, girl, your story, your pitch is your story. All
Yeah.
that other stuff about this and where I've worked and nobody, it's the story.
Yeah.
And you said to me, the demographic, your market that you're looking for is you.
Mm-hmm.
And that was
It's
so
true.
powerful. That
Yeah.
was so powerful because it was also a moment that broke through some fear and
Mm.
some shame, right, for me.
Yeah.
Because if I'm going to openly market that after everything I've achieved in my life, right, then I have to say again and over, I'm a teen mother. I was a teen mother. I was a
Yeah.
teen mother.
Yeah.
And then I started saying it over and over.
Yeah.
And then I started feeling that power come
Mm-hmm.
back, that power. And I was able to go back and look at pictures of myself from high school, before high school, and just look at this. And I wanted to just tell that girl, you win. Like
Yeah.
it gets really, really good, girl. It gets really, really good. And so my breakthrough was coming to you. Like I
Oh.
literally like left my job, and 2 weeks later I was on the phone with you.
Yeah.
And I've gained so much focus. I
Mhm.
have gained so much freedom from that, from being coached, from opening up my mouth
Yeah.
and asking for help. And that's really the key to it all.
It really is. It's so very important. And I don't know why it's so hard for us in some of these moments to open up and ask for help. And what I love so much about your story was that, you know, I work with a lot of business owners, you know, we do a lot of marketing, and you don't hear very often, I want to help the teenage mother. I want to
Right.
help the person who was incarcerated. I want to help the person who's, you know, going for a divorce or was abused. Like that usually is not landing pages that we're creating, right? Because
Right.
everybody's like, oh, you got to go after the person who has gobs of money, and you know, and there's nothing wrong with that either, depending on what your service is. But when you hear like, I want to help these people who maybe struggle in helping themselves, whereas you were able to help yourself in a really difficult situation, not just help yourself, but really exceed everybody's expectation. And I love that your
Mhm.
class voted you the president your senior year. I'm like, right on. That is so great. But when you're in a place like that where you have been labeled, you know,
Mhm.
you were this, you were that. I was in an abusive marriage. It was very shaming. Like I did not want to talk about it, but I've been there, and I was also abused as a child. And you don't want to talk about it because it
Right.
is really shaming. But if you can tap your power, if you can get out of that victim mindset, if you can just start taking actions, and I love what you said, open your mouth and ask for help and surround yourself with people who are going to support you and motivate you, inspire you, who are not going to shame you. And I love what you said about now you're a reset coach, because everybody who's listening to this, you've probably been through something difficult in your life. This is exactly why I wanted to have Jess on the podcast today, because if you've been faced with something difficult in your life and you have now labeled yourself as, oh, I was abused, I was traumatized, I was this, I was that, and you're using it as an excuse not to go out and live your best life, not to go after your goals. I want you to hear Jess's story. If you listen to my podcast, you've heard a lot of things on my story. It's not a reason not to live at our best. And when you hear from people who have done it, it just like gives us hope to know that we can do it. I hate to say this, we're almost out of time. I could just sit and talk with you all day, Jess. But if I would just love to hear one final thing on, if you're a listener and you've kind of labeled yourself and you're feeling kind of stuck, maybe you're in a little bit of that victim mindset, what would you say? One piece of advice you'd love to leave with everybody today on what to do to get out of that so that you can really go after what's in your heart and what you want to do with your life.
A lot of things that keep us from moving forward actually have to do with fear.
Mm-hmm.
What if what they said is true?
Mm-hmm.
We are afraid of that. So we stand and don't make any movements at all. I'd rather be still than to fall.
Mm-hmm.
So if I don't go up, I can't fall. I can't prove them right. Right?
Yeah.
So that fear keeps us very still and it keeps us from moving forward. So my big breakthrough piece of advice is to Google this poem that is very, very popular. It's Marianne Williamson's Our Deepest Fear.
Yeah.
And that poem, when you read it through the first time, then the second time, put it in the first person.
Mm-hmm.
What is my deepest fear?
Yeah.
It's not that I'm inadequate, it's that I am powerful beyond measure. It is my light,
Yeah.
not my darkness, that makes me most afraid. That's the thing. That's the thing. And that's the real fear. It's not that you're going to prove them right, it's that you're going to prove them wrong. You're going to prove yourself right. And
Yeah.
then what happens next? What happens when you actually exceed those expectations? And that can be a scary place. And that's why we have coaches like you and me to
Mm-hmm.
help people walk through those scary places.
Yeah.
Because we know at the end, you win.
Yeah.
If you walk it, if you get up and walk it, you will win.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness, so powerful. Just tell everybody where they can find you.
They can find me at www.jnicolecoaching.com. bachelor.com.
Oh, thank you so much for being on the show today. Like I said, I could just sit and chat with you like all day. Your story is so inspiring. I know everybody who's hearing it is going to be inspired as well to just go out there and like live your best life. So thank you so much for sharing it. If you guys want to learn more about our coaching, you can visit me at Jennifer Dawn Coaching, or you can find us at bestplannerever.com. That's it for our episode today. So powerful. Thank you so much, Jess, for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody get out there. Thank you for listening and have a happy, productive day.
Bye bye.
Bye.